to I Am Geek. I'm Chris Ross.
I'm Justin Drabness.
And this is the Batman vs. Superman non-spoiler review for the channel.
We're not going to ruin it for you. Too bad.
We're not going to ruin it. So non-spoiler review for the channel. We're going to talk a little bit about the movie and what our feelings are. And then we're going to do a spoiler review, which if you've seen the movie, please go watch that, where we're going to get a little bit more in depth of the movie and what we liked and disliked with particular parts of the movie. Mm-hmm. So what's your feeling on it after seeing it? It was not on your top 5 most anticipated to watch for 2016. It was number 2 on mine. So,
well, I think the fact that it wasn't one of my most anticipated films actually helped me in this. I already didn't have great feelings going into it, and after seeing some of the critical reviews, I was like, oh great, I'm going to go and I'm going to have pretty much dog turds rubbing my eyes for 2 hours. And that didn't happen. So I left on a
Zack
positive
Snyder
note.
never makes dog turds in your eyes. Everything looks great.
Well, yeah.
I mean, visually, it's a beautiful, amazing movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Cinematography actually was the first thing I noticed about it, and the first thing I was like, ooh, this is good.
Yes.
What about you? First impressions?
So it was my number 2 most anticipated movie of 2016, and I went in very high. I mean, I was playing the soundtrack for 2 days in the car. I was pumped. I wanted to see this movie so bad. I'm a huge Batman fan.
The hype was real.
I enjoyed Man of Steel. I was ready to go, and I went in, and I'm not saying I was disappointed, but I'm saying it's definitely didn't hit all the marks for me. It hit a couple of the marks it did hit. Ben Affleck, which I stated for years that I was happy and I was okay with Ben Affleck being Batman. Great Batman.
Initially, I did not feel good about that, but then as the trailers kept coming out and I got to see more of him, I was okay with it. And then after seeing his performance, he sold me.
Yeah,
he's actually my favorite one of the time. I could pass on Christian Bale for Ben Affleck now.
Well, it's funny, as I saw a post on Facebook, who's your favorite live-action Batman? Michael Keaton is still probably mine. I mean, he's the Batman from my youth, but this Batman was definitely, I mean, he's a badass.
Well, not only that, but you get to see Bruce Wayne as Bruce Wayne. This is probably the best Bruce Wayne that we've seen, in my opinion.
The first 30 minutes of that movie, and like I said, we don't want to spoil it, but the first 30 minutes of the movie was amazing. With Affleck, Ben as Bruce Wayne, and you get to see some of the stuff you've seen in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything, how he sees the fight with Zod and Superman, and that whole side was amazing. So Ben Affleck hit the mark for me.
Yeah.
Cinematography, visually, it was great. The fight between Batman and Superman, although wasn't terribly long, it was still pretty awesome to watch. There's a couple of issues I have. You can watch on the spoiler review. But number 3, they set up the Justice League. And I'm more excited for those movies now after seeing Batman vs. Superman. I'm excited to watch just the Wonder Woman movie and Justice League Part 2, and then The Flash. And
I'm definitely a lot more confident now, after having seen this, that they could probably pull those off and that they'll be good.
Yeah. I'm still a little curious about why they're doing it in the order that they're doing it, but that's what they're doing.
I think it's purely because they got to play catch up.
I agree.
They're way behind Marvel, and they got to do what they can to catch up.
I thought about that, and I'm thinking, Marvel, the Infinity War is just going to be, 2019, 2020? Or 2018, 2019?
I thought it was 18, 19.
Well, guess what? At the end of 19, what are they going to do? Either they have to keep doing different stories, or they reboot the universe. If they reboot, then DC is set up to have a run into the Justice League. I was like, why wouldn't you do that so that they're chasing you? I don't know. Anyway, that's
too far into it.
That's a story for another video, I guess. So yes, I think there was parts of it that, if you've seen the other reviews, if you read any of the critic stuff, I mean, some of it is a bit of a mess. Editing-wise, it's not great in some parts.
Well, let's talk about that. So the flow of the movie, a lot of the critics talked about how it just, for the first 2/3 of the movie, it was one pace, and then the last third, it was a whole different pace. I heard that before I went to see this movie, but I kind of felt like it was building to that crescendo. I didn't really feel taken out of the movie because the pace changed. I felt like it was building to that.
Well, you're right, and there was. I always feel like it was 5 different movies stuffed into one package, and there was a lot to unpack. You had a Superman 2, Man of Steel 2. Mm-hmm. You had a Batman original Batman story. You had a Lex Luthor movie. You had the Batman vs Superman fight leading up to that. Yeah. And then you had the Justice League setup.
Yep.
So you've got all that stuff that you've got to cram together into a 2.5-hour movie, and apparently there's an extra half-hour of footage that's going to come out in an ultimate director's cut edition, hopefully later this summer, and then we can see that and go, oh, well, a lot of this stuff makes sense. Mm-hmm. So they cram all that in together, and I feel like there was just things that were not in the right order or just kind of shoehorned in there.
Mm-hmm. It could be because of editing.
Right.
I didn't really have a big problem with it. Tell you one thing I did have a big problem with, and I predicted this, freaking Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg, is a turd. He's the dog turd in this movie.
Well, I think Eisenberg's a good actor. And I get what he was trying to do.
Yeah, he was being a twitchy Jesse Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor.
You ever seen Matchstick Men with Nicolas Cage? How he's all twitchy and he's got like a tick? That's what it reminded me of. I was like...
Oh, so he's turning into Nicolas Cage. That's good for his career.
But that's what it reminded me of. Like, he's just in the middle of talking, the next thing you know, he's like... And I'm like, what the hell is going on with you?
Somebody tased him in the
butt. So I didn't know, and I agree with you. I was willing to give Eisenberg and that the benefit of the doubt. I said that before, and I remember sitting there, and we were halfway through the movie, and there's this one scene, and I'll talk about it later in the spoiler review. But I literally go, "What the hell am I watching? Like, what? I don't get this. I don't understand this."
Yeah.
So
I don't think. So I mean, I don't know if that was the direction he was given, if that's the character he was told to portray, or what. But as far as like the character of Lex, I didn't enjoy it. What I enjoyed was, as you go through the movie, you can see him pulling strings, and I thought that was authentic. That was very good because he is a genius, or supposed to be. But man, he was just too twitchy and Jesse Eisenberg-y.
So apparently, originally Bryan Cranston was going to play Lex Luthor.
That would have been so much better.
And Jesse Eisenberg came in for another role, which I'm not going to spoil. And then they changed direction, and they called Eisenberg back to do Lex Luthor. And I'm like, because I think if you would have had the older businessman, like pulling the strings, manipulating everything, I think that would have came off and played a little bit better. And
believe it or not, and this is a superhero movie, but I feel like that would have been more believable because here's an older man with more experience behind him, whereas here's this young prodigy that's it's Mr. Social Network pulling the strings. I just didn't feel that worked.
Yeah. So, so that's what we thought of the movie. Watch our spoiler review. That's going to go a little bit more in depth and talk about the things that we really liked and didn't like, and scenes that we liked and that sort of thing. And on the spoiler review is where we're going to give our rating. So if you've seen the movie, watch the spoiler review, and then you can decide what you think. If you haven't seen the movie, I totally recommend that you go see it. You should see it on the big screen. See it in IMAX if you can, or anywhere that's got the bigger screens. See it there because it's totally worth it. It's a visual spectacle.
Yep. I agree.
With issues.
Even with the things that we didn't like about the movie, it was a fun movie to watch, and I highly recommend the theater experience.
And I will see it again in the theater because now that I've seen it once, I want to see it again, knowing what I know and being able to go into it knowing what to expect.
Yep.
So, thank you for watching this. This is I Am Geek. I'm Chris Ross.
I'm Justin Dradness.
And we'll catch you next time.